Paranormal in Pennsylvania may discuss topics such as suicide, murder, and other potentially upsetting things. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania, where we discuss history and hauntings. Today, we will be discussing potentially the most controversial people in the paranormal universe. I'm Sarah, and let's get into it. Today we have our friends, our pod and real life friends at Horror Hour with the Hannas here. Tell us a bit about your guys' podcast.
So I thought you were calling us the most controversial, and I was like, yeah, true. Definitely the most controversial. The most controversial in the horror movie space, in the podcasting space.
I don't think that's
Facts. Just go look at
accurate.
our TikTok. You'll know.
Oh, yeah, maybe
Facts.
some of the TikToks.
Nope, it's true. But anyway, we are Horror Hour with the Hannas. We are a married couple. My last name's Hannah, her first name's Hannah, and her last name's kind of Hannah.
No,
She hasn't
it's
changed
not.
it, but
It's not kind of Hannah. It's not
but
that.
we review horror movies. We do all kinds of fun stuff on TikTok and a bunch of other places. But our big thing is that we try to really get into thematic analysis of horror because we feel that it could be an underrepresented genre when it comes to that kind of analysis, award seasons, and being taken as a serious medium. So we're big art people. So I would say sometimes, we're movie people first, horror people second. So we like to try to bring that critical film eye to this.
I like your guys' takes on stuff. I am credited as saying all the time to people, you guys change my perspective on horror movies. Barbarian, for sure. I've said it on every episode we've done together, and I will keep saying it because I absolutely despised that film before I listened to your guys' podcast. And I was like, oh, yeah, when you explain it that way and it breaking it down into the acts, okay, I guess it makes sense. And I think that's why it's important for you to say you're film people first because your knowledge of film is what makes the podcast really stand out, I think, because a lot of horror fans are making podcasts, etc. Not to say other ones aren't good, but you guys also take a look at the film, you guys take a look at the psychology. So, yeah, I love it. And I've been on a few of the episodes. I've been on Annabelle, which is in the Warrens universe, which is what we're talking about today. Everybody who knows anything about a singular ghost knows the Warrens, I feel, and they're
Yeah.
definitely a controversial figure. Hot takes are that the Warrens did everything for the paranormal world. What do you guys feel about that statement?
I mean, I do think for a lot of normal folk who aren't really in the paranormal community, the Warrens did do a lot of work to put a lot of famous hauntings on the map. Like, I think before I had really ever listened to your podcast, for example, or really engaged with some of the paranormal community on socials, all I really knew about was the Warrens. So I do think they can kind of be an entry point for a lot of people, but they're certainly not the end all be all. And then if you actually do any research on them, there's a lot of negative things we could say about their impact on the community as well.
I mean, for me, it seems like they are like the big ghost hunters, we would say, before it really became a TV prospect, although they were that as well. The fact that they were working alongside the Catholic Church, I think both credits them and discredits them. Like that's something that really kind of blows my mind. Like it is at least been said that like they worked alongside priests. Ed partook in exorcisms, which also insane that the Catholic Church was doing exorcisms in the 80s
Mhm.
and prior. It's amazing that they actually acknowledged that that all went down. But like there's some level of credibility to the fact that he was doing all that and that the Catholic Church was pushing that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I find them interesting and controversial, but I don't know too much about them.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. I wouldn't say that they did everything for the community, but I think they definitely brought it mainstream, especially through their cinematic universe. A lot of people are exposed to these based on true haunting movies, and right now there are 8 films in the cinematic universe. And Matt, I know you have hot takes on the inclusion of these, but technically in the Warren Conjuring universe. There's The Conjuring from 2013, The Conjuring 2 from 2016, The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It from 2021, which, if you're listening to this, go check out in a few weeks Horror Hour with the Hannah's podcast because we'll have an episode on that film. Annabelle from 2014, Annabelle Creation from 2017, Annabelle Comes Home from 2019, and ones that I don't even feel should be a part of the universe, The Nun in 2018 and The Nun 2 in 2023. And this is going to be capped off with Last Rites coming out this year. So it's definitely a big part of pop culture now, of horror movies,
Hmm.
to have the Warrens. And there were so many cases. They claimed to have over 10,000 cases during their career, which
How do you have
that being
time?
that's what I'm gonna say. Like, how is that feasible? Because in 1952, that's when the Warrens founded the New England Society for Psychic Research. And Ed died, I think, in the early 2000s. So let's even say that they were active for all 50 of those years. How can you possibly do that many cases a year? That's just crazy to me.
I'm literally about to do math.
Well,
52 weeks a year for 50 years. That is 2,600 weeks. That doesn't make sense.
I think they were like almost like private investigators. I think they were
Hmm.
hitting multiple in a day.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's like, oh, because a lot of them they say is we went and looked and they're like, yep, here, this wasn't the actual issue. It wasn't a haunting. So I
Hmm.
don't know. It doesn't seem insane to me.
It seems insane to me because, yes, there are probably like, it's like a plumber goes to multiple houses in a day to fix things, or in this case,
Or
be
an
like, there
exterminator.
are no ghosts. However, we know that there are how many cases, at least that they talk about widely being involved in, that they were there for
Hmm.
how many weeks? So, how you got time for that?
Hard to say.
Yeah, and I know in Smurl, again, I read the book co-written by them for Smurl Haunting, which it'll be really interesting to see how that shows up in Last Rites. But in Smurl, they talk about staying with the family for a bit and then going off and doing other cases and having to come back. But even that, if you think of these more involved cases where it would have been a week or so, that's just crazy. How do you have time for that? Or energy? And I do wonder if that figure, that 10,000 figure, is the total Nesper, the society count versus Ed
Mm.
and Lorraine directly being involved.
I feel like it would have to be the society count, like other people studying under their tutelage, going out and
Yeah,
doing those things, because those are wild numbers. I would not trust anyone who claimed those kind of numbers to me for anything.
right. So, okay, to run through, we're gonna do speed of the 8 films that are already there and do just like very quick summaries of the hauntings. Okay. And I'll go first and then you guys can add anything. So, The Conjuring, Haunted Farmhouse, and the Warrens come to help investigate that. That's like my highlights. Do you guys have anything that you think is important to add?
I was gonna say that the family's name was the Perrin family. They had five girls. You can look them up. They're real people, and I believe the girls were involved in some of the making of the original, or
Yeah,
at least have commented on its accuracy.
yeah,
So,
Hmm.
yeah. The daughters have commented on things being, for the most part, accurate in the film, which is very interesting.
and the movie's really scary and really good. We'll just
Yes.
say it.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
really good
And if you
movie.
guys want more takes on that, you guys have an episode on it. So
Yep.
they can
Yes, we
go listen to
do.
that. Conjuring 2, the Ed and Lorraine were actually on a sabbatical to travel to Enfield, but they ended up becoming involved in a case there where a young daughter is possessed, and then they become, the targets of the possession. Anything to add to that one?
I have heard that this one is largely discounted by people who were present and had like witnessed, for example, like the kids just like throwing stuff around the kitchen, not possessed. But then it's very interesting because in the credits of the film, there is the quote unquote footage of their encounter, and it is convincing and honestly the scariest part of that movie. So,
Yeah.
The the weird part of the movie is that they add this whole subplot of the Warrens being specifically targeted, which is obviously not what
by
accredited in real life and not what the story was in real life. It really was just about this controversial case because it was pretty proven that they thought the kids faked it, as Hannah was saying before. But I think that's why they tackled it was like, let's go into one that like people are pretty convinced was fake.
It's
So
also very interesting that in that movie, they, like Matt mentioned, they add the Warrens being targeted by a demon named Valak, and that is not how you spell Valak, the demon, and also not what the demon Valak is supposedly looks like or does.
yeah, which
So,
leads into the Nun movies, which have are not based in any reality, the same as the Annabelle movies from The Conjuring. So
Right. And that's again, that's why it feels like they don't even fit in this universe because like, okay, so the nun is about the nun, obviously, and Valak's basis, and that's how it ties into the universe. Why pull an untrue story into this universe that you're trying to make factual? I just
Yes.
completely
yep.
don't get it. And then they make it worse with the nun too. And they're like, oh my gosh, a priest is murdered and the demonic forces are back. It's not based in reality.
And that's the
No.
same thing with Annabelle and Annabelle Creation. The Annabelle story is a real story. It's about a 5 minute story that's completely told in the first Conjuring movie. But they were like, oh, we
Mhm.
got this creepy doll. So I never consider them part of the Conjuring universe, as I was saying before, because the Warrens aren't in the movie. It has nothing to do with one of their real life cases, not even based on a real life case or anything that happened. It's just a fictional movie using a property.
So, how do you feel about Annabelle Comes Home then?
I haven't seen the third one. Is that one based in reality?
That one the
So, I'm
Warrens are
not
actually in.
What?
That's what I was gonna say. So Annabelle Comes Home is about, you know how the Warrens had all of these items stored at their
Yes.
home. Annabelle Comes Home is about having Annabelle in the Warrens household and how that affected their family.
Hmm.
I know nothing
So
about it, so I will have to look into that one.
Yeah, we'll
Is
be
it based on anything real?
they did have the Annabelle doll at their house, and
I knew that.
supposedly there were some strange happenings, but I don't know how much of it is, embellished.
Yeah, see, we watched Annabelle obviously with you and David and covered that on our pod in season one, and we all hated it. So we decided, executive decision, we will not watch any more of these ever.
Any more of the offshoot?
Any more of the offshoots
Yeah.
because I don't care. And I don't care about things that are outside of quote unquote the reality of the Warrens, nor do I care about movies that aren't directed and written by James Wan, frankly, in this franchise, because I
Facts.
think he is key to the success of the first two.
Well, you are going to watch Last Rites, which is not directed by him.
Yeah, and The Conjuring 3
Yeah.
wasn't either, but at least it was somewhat written by him.
Yeah, Last Rites, I think it's interesting because they're claiming that this is going to be the last one of the Warren cinematic universe, which I think
Hmm.
is a wild statement when there are so many cases that they haven't even touched.
Hmm.
I do think Smurl is the best choice of the ones I know for this because we have the first-hand account of the written book, which, of course, since the Warrens are dead now, we can't interview them.
Hmm.
However, the Smurl story is controversial because some of the daughters involved in it have come out and said that things didn't happen or that the Warrens were kind of prompting them to say stuff, especially because I don't know how much you guys know about Smurl, but part of it was the Warrens encouraged the Smurl parents to go on national television and talk about the haunting.
Hmm.
So we
Oof.
know the Warrens really wanted to be famous. So how much
Yeah.
of it was the Warrens versus how much of it was reality? Who knows? And I don't know. I know I said they were controversial in the intro. I don't know if I said why, and that is a disservice to them. So apparently, Ed, and I know you guys know this, but for listeners, apparently Ed had an extramarital affair with a 15-year-old for like 40 years. It started when she was 15. So there's a lot of sketchy things in their past.
And
But
they're
we're just talking
like,
about them as hauntings.
yeah. Well, it's also like they were clearly Catholic and involved with the Catholic Church. And I guess said 15-year-old at some point during the affair was pregnant, and Lorraine encouraged her to get an abortion, which is also feels pretty conflicting with the public
Hmm.
image that they're trying to put out about
Hmm.
themselves. So there's just so many details about them that aren't
Oh,
kosher.
and they're also just controversial for the haunting elements of
Yeah.
possibly
Yeah,
faking and lying and doing it for press, as you said
right.
before. But who knows? Because as Hannah said before, I listened to that recording from the Entfield poltergeist, and that
Hmm.
scared me bad, and that seemed hard to fake. So, as a
Yeah.
guy that's not really much is a pretty big skeptic when it comes to hauntings, like that felt like one of those ones where it was like, this seems like too real to be fake, and I'm almost questioning it because it's too real. Like,
Hmm.
Right. And even, I mean, we talked about, not to spoil your guys' episode, because go listen to the whole thing, but we even talk about The Devil Made Me Do It, the clips at the end of that. It just seems like that is evidence, but overall, the Warrens kind of skeeve me out. I do have a
Yeah.
question for you guys, including last rites, which I know you guys don't know a ton about, but if you had to live in one of the Warren movies, which would it be and why?
Devil Made Me Do It easy because I don't have to live around that guy. Like, if you're living in one of the homes of any of these people, I feel that's the safest one. He's also like not in
So
the home because he's in jail. So that's a
I,
cheat.
I, I got my yeah, that's a cheating one. I got my answer because I'm gonna go with Conjuring 2 and Enfield Poltergeist, and the reason being is in real life there was no demon. Well, whatever there was, it was just an old dude they believe that lived and died in the house that was possessing her.
That feels the safest.
Feels pretty safe to me and the most interesting. You know, the Conjuring, the
Hmm.
first one, it's a witch maybe, Bathsheba. Like that's pretty scary. But if we're dealing with just what was the alleged story, then Phil Poltergeist seems relatively like a chill guy. He's just a little cranky.
Yeah,
I'm
I think I'd pick The Conjuring too as well.
I
Because
think
the
that's
nuns, no. Those
no.
I'm not doing that.
I think that's the right answer, but I also think if I'm putting myself it not the cases, but like the movies themselves, that movie did nothing for me and wasn't scary. So as long as I don't go into the basement of the rats, I'm fine.
Another question. Would you rather encounter a haunted nun or a haunted doll? Team
None.
Annabelle or Team the Nun?
I would rather
None.
none. I can't do dolls being alive.
I don't, yeah, haunted dolls really scare me, especially because like the real Annabelle doll was what are
And the
they?
Raggedy Ann.
Raggedy Ann
Raggedy Ann.
doll. And my cousin's child has a Raggedy Ann doll that my aunt had given her before my aunt passed away. And so they call the doll Aunt Gail. And the doll lives in my cousin's child's bedroom. And whenever we stay there, we sleep in said child's bedroom. And the child just sleeps with mom and dad, but the doll is always in there. So I don't want to consider haunted dolls existing for my own sanity. Because I'm already weirdly creeped out when I'm in there because I know that the Annabelle case exists.
Hmm. Yeah, honestly, my mom has a Raggedy Ann and she was like, "Oh, do you want it for your daughter?" And I know you guys know my daughter's name, but we just don't say it on the podcast. But do you want it for your daughter? And I was like, "Absolutely not." She does
No,
not like Raggedy Ann. And my mom was like, "Why? She's classic." I was like, "No, I'm not having that in my house.
no.
I can't move past it." I feel like ever since the Goosebump dummies, I have
Ooh.
hated, like, that's the origin of my fears, I
Night of the
think.
Living Dummy, part one, two, and three, or part one and two. I don't know. You ever read?
Yeah.
Hannah didn't read those books because,
I
she
wasn't a
stinks.
spooky gal until
R.L.
like
Stein was the man.
college.
Yeah, and
He's
all the
got some
movies.
bangers. Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not well versed in spooky children's media besides Scooby-Doo.
Which,
It's
I do love.
yeah, they rock.
Yeah,
I want
but
Hannah to watch Courage the Cowardly Dog more. I've been trying. I want to do a podcast just
yeah.
on Courage the Cowardly Dog because I think
Well,
you could do every episode.
you guys covered it in your like kids Halloween horror.
Hmm.
So you've at least
Yeah.
seen something. Did you not like it, Hannah?
I can't say it was my favorite one that we watched. No, but I also don't have any nostalgia for it because I
Well,
did not watch
you could learn
anything on Cartoon Network besides Scooby-Doo when I
you
was
can learn
younger.
so much from Courage because he teaches you it's
To have
okay.
courage.
No, it's okay to be panicked and completely freak out as long as you get the job done.
Yeah,
Courage
Courage
always
King.
gets he's scared, but he gets the job done.
He gets me.
Yeah, he teaches you it's okay not to have courage. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess he does have courage because he
Well, he
gets it done.
does. He gets it done, but he's very
Yeah.
scared throughout the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah. So, if you had to recommend one of and I know you haven't seen all of them, but based on the hauntings, if you had to recommend one of the Warren Cinematic Universe movies, which would you recommend?
Easily the first
The first
Conjuring
one.
movie. I think it's the most well-made movie. I think it has the best scares. I think the setting and the aesthetic really contributes to it gives the vibes of the time period. The music's great. I think it really does have some of the most iconic jump scares
It has a
of,
Ryan Gosling song in it.
yes. That's what I meant by really good music, if I'm being honest, was the Ryan Gosling song. Dead Man's Bones. Check them out. There's one album. There needs to be more. Ryan, get back to music. Anyway, yeah. We have episodes on The Conjuring 2, soon to be The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and Annabelle. So if you want the full explanation as to why we're picking that one, you can certainly check those out. But in summary,
I'll say one thing very fast. I picked that one. Have long said I think that it was one of the first dominoes in the kind of horror renaissance we got post 2014. Insidious will give some credit to as well, but this really felt like the indication of horror is back. And I
Mhm.
think without it, we don't end up getting movies like Hereditary and Midsummer by Ari Aster and movies like The Babadook and things that have gone on to basically eclipse and surpass The Conjuring. So it's a huge deal. I think it's like a huge deal for horror history that hasn't been made yet because it's still pretty new. Still
Yeah.
11 years old. Like, yeah.
That's true. It'll be interesting to see how the film ages. And you guys know from our pod, we always ask the question, would you visit this place of paranormal phenomena? And what is your limit with it? So when it comes to the Conjuring house, would you visit and do you have any stipulations?
I was literally thinking earlier, if you didn't ask us this, I was going to ask you this. So I'm glad that we're getting to it. I would go during the day. I don't know how much more after that because, as we are all aware here, and anyone who listened to the McGillen's app knows, I am a chicken. When I had a slight paranormal experience in a bathroom, I came running down the stairs and was like, Sarah, can you come to the potty with me? I'm scared. My door was shaking. So I would need to like walk through that house holding hands with someone, but I could go during the day.
For me, let me sleep there. Put me in that room with the, what's it called? The
The
wardrobe.
wardrobe.
Yeah, put me there.
Wardrobe?
I'm sleeping in the parent house for sure.
What
People
ab-
live there.
what about the
Yeah.
basement?
Why would I sleep? I go in the basement. I don't need to sleep in the
I'm not saying
basement.
sleep, but I'm saying like would you go in the
Yeah.
basement because that is
Yeah,
where
I go
a
in the
lot of
basement.
creepy shit happened and like the lights go out and
I go in the
Holy
spooky
fuck.
basement, that's for sure. I'd sleep there. I don't I'm not sleeping in the basement. But
they're
I wouldn't,
judging
yeah.
you for going in the basement.
Why?
I see
I'm
it.
judging him for sleeping there.
I'll sleep
I
there.
would I would go there during the day. I'm with you, Hannah. I'd go there during the day. I would not sleep there. I would not be there at night. I don't know. I don't get good vibes.
I
No.
So
love it. It looked beautiful. You got to look up the real house. It's like that nice. I mean, it's
Yeah,
old,
I think
but
we've all seen
yeah.
photos of the
yeah.
real house. It doesn't mean I feel good about
Ah,
going
Okay.
there.
I'm in. I'd
Doesn't
love
mean I
it.
would go there.
Bring me all the
Okay.
spooky
Especially
shit.
especially because that one, like the family has corroborated the story.
Yes.
It's
Yes. And so this one's not a place, but an item. You said you'd rather do haunted nun than haunted doll. But would you go see Annabelle if you had the opportunity?
I would
100%.
definitely go see Annabelle. I know Annabelle is currently touring, which is a weird thing, but they've had her at like horror festivals and stuff. And I actually looked up if she would be nearby because I was going to convince Matt to go. But
I definitely go.
Annabelle will not be near enough by that it's worth making the journey. But I know she normally lives in like the Warren Museum, which wasn't open for a while. Do we know if it's reopening or is reopened? Because
I
if it were
think so.
accessible at some point, like I do think that would be a cool place to go and look at their artifacts.
So it's closed because of zoning issues. So you can access it. It says a select few people can go there under the guise of other things than visiting it as a museum
Oh,
Interesting.
weird. Would you guys
because it's
touch the
technically
Annabelle doll though?
residential. No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. And
Because
you know what I
No.
wouldn't
they
do?
don't let
I
you touch
wouldn't,
it.
I know, but even if I could, and I would not do anything to taunt it at all. Like when I see haunted objects, I'm like, you have my utmost respect. I
Oh, I
am not
agree
going
with
to mess
that.
with you.
I don't think I would touch the Annabelle doll either, but I'd definitely go see it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, yeah, I'd be just looking at her like, hello,
And
ma'am.
and if I
I hope you
slept in
are
the
well.
parent house, I wouldn't do it. I would just have a nice little sleep. I'd be like, all right, ghosties, like we're having a sleepover. I wouldn't taunt. I'm here. Well, I'm not gonna bug you. You don't bug me. It'd
Well,
be good.
I have to
Yeah.
say, like, I am pretty dumb, or at least in the past, I've
Clip
been
that, clip
dumb.
that,
Yeah, clip that.
clip that chat.
Um, in the past, we went to a Confederate cemetery that was supposedly haunted in Savannah, and this was before, again, you guys had your podcast, or we were like involved in the community in any way. So I was there, like, you guys suck. You guys are fighting for the wrong stuff, like being an ass. And then we went to get in the car, and I was like, I think someone might follow us home. I'm sorry. And now looking
Yeah, oh my
back, I'm
gosh.
like, can't do that. Can't do it.
No, oh my gosh,
Yep.
don't taunt. That's what I always say. Like, sometimes people like to do stuff like that when we're on investigations with them. Like, they'll be like, oh, I bet there's no one here even. I'm like, say, no, we don't need to say that. Like,
No.
you're just inviting something really bad to start happening.
Like maybe do that when I've left. Go
Yeah,
do whatever when I'm not present, but don't recommend.
right. Especially with these two Warren hauntings that are like Annabelle and The Conjuring, which are known to be, so intense. Those are the questions I had for you guys. Any final thoughts about the Warrens or any of the movies?
I guess my final thoughts would be Conjuring is an amazing and influential and important film, as Matt said, but ultimately, as much as they want to make the Warrens out to be this loving couple, I think they're great Warren propaganda films. But this is why it's very important to have a critical eye when you ingest media, because if you just watch those, that's what you would think. But obviously, there's a lot more than meets the eye there.
Hmm.
And our whole podcast is about exploring media critically and thinking about what these things mean and how they're conveying that meaning. So it's up our alley. Do
Anything
you
to add,
have,
Matt?
Oh yeah, nothing. I like the movies. To be honest, I want to read Lorraine's book, even though I think they might
well,
just be
there's
shysters.
a
But
lot of books. Is there like one specific recently
oh,
written
my
Lorraine
bad. You're
book?
right. I want to read one of her books. Sorry, I don't know which one. I'm interested.
Do you know how many books they've written, roughly? Or
No, but I have the Smurl book. If I can find it, then I can give it to you.
Their
I'm almost
Wikipedia
Um,
page is
curious.
also a great deep dive, just gonna say. Like
is
just
it?
reading like Ed and Lorraine. Yeah, you can learn a lot. You get the controversy, you get everything.
Would you, Sarah, ever consider if Pip ran its course, like, or doing an offshoot on the Warren specifically about their various cases? Because I feel like there's so much to say there with
Oh
their
yeah.
cases.
Yeah, they're definitely I would.
Yeah, I feel like they always work as a bonus app because there's so much to say about them and deep dive into. Like obviously this episode is a very like surface level look at them, but there's so much.
And it's funny because every time you cover them, you have to be like, I don't like these people. I don't know
Yes.
anything because the internet's
Hmm.
a bunch of dummies. I'm making fun of the audience, our
Yeah,
audience and
That's
your
fine.
audience. No, it's fine.
right.
Come listen
No,
to
but
us
I do
though.
always try to say that. I'm always like, I'm not saying that the Warrens were good people, but I am saying they're an undeniable part of the paranormal world.
Yeah,
And that's just facts. Just like they're part of the cinematic universe or the cinematic world.
yeah.
But
I'm making a statement. Paranormal in Pennsylvania endorses the Warrants,
No.
and they're endorsed officially by me.
Matthew.
someone's gonna
We should
clip
say
it.
that.
Go ahead.
Clip it, chat.
Yeah. So where can the people find you?
Yeah, we have episodes available wherever you can find podcasts. So that includes Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio. We're also on YouTube and we post a lot of shorts to YouTube. We're also available on the socials on Blue Sky at Horror Hour, Instagram at Horror Hour with the Hannas, and TikTok at Horror Hour is the at, but I think when you search Horror Hour with the Hannas, we would come up as well. We post a lot of content on TikTok almost every day.
Yeah, so give them a follow for horror hot takes. You'll see me on one of their episodes. And like I said, we're friends in real life. So we definitely like pop up in each other's videos. And if you
Yes.
like us, go like them. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I can't wait to see you guys next, whenever that will be.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Tune in next Thursday to see what history and hauntings we discuss next. Stay spooky, my friends.